Let's turn our attention to business now. Economic expert and chief economist at Streetnomics Limited, Mr. Gospel Obeli, has reacted to the outcome of the just concluded Monetary Policy Committee of the Central Bank of Nigeria, which increased the monetary policy rate by 400 basis points to 22.75% from 18.75% previously. Mr. Obeli spoke on our flagship program, Business Nigeria, earlier today.
It's not a surprising one, was largely expected. And that's because there's just a conventional push around the fact that inflation is aggressively on the high. And if you take a cue from what has happened in globalized economies or in Western economies, so to say, you'll see that rising interest rates have also led to a significant drop in inflation, almost by half. However, we also see the dynamics that the Nigerian economy is being faced with is pretty much very intricate. Whilst, like I've always said, interest rates are key in terms of being a necessary condition-based instrument to use in times of high inflationary pressure like this. It's not also ultimately the most complete approach to take, in as much as it's a necessary approach to take. So the most sufficient or complete approach is like what the central bank governor said, working more closely. I'm glad that they've also realized the need to work very closely with the fiscal authorities. And that would mean that in context to that, how do you use a multiple tool mix in terms of leveraging interest rates and other fiscal tools to fight inflation?
And while the CBN has announced the selling of foreign exchange worth about $20,000 to eligible bureau de change operators across the country. This was disclosed in a circular issued and signed by the Director of Trade and Exchange Department, Mr. Hassan Mahmood, today. According to the circular, the move is aimed at rectifying the persisting distortions in the retail segment of Nigeria's foreign exchange market and bridging the widening gap. The allocation will be sold at a rate of 1,000 naira 301 to the US dollars, reflecting the lower band rate of executed spot transactions at the Nigerian autonomous foreign exchange market. This is coming 2 years after the suspension of the sales of foreign exchange to the BDC's operators. And to mitigate the impact of fuel subsidy and soaring cost of food commodities on citizens, Lagos State Ministry of Commerce, Cooperatives, Trade and Investment put together a stakeholders meeting with business membership organizations on navigating current economic challenges. Addressing the stakeholders, the Commissioner of Lagos State Ministry of Commerce, Cooperatives, Trade and Investment, Mrs. Folashade Ambrose Medben, stated that through dialogue and cooperation, both the government and citizens can work together towards achieving a sustainable solution that will benefit Nigerians.
That is very important that we engage with all the business member organizations that we have, and they were in full attendance today, and to really understand how we can collectively address the economic challenges and make sure that we try and also come up with the way forward collectively in order to ensure that the businesses continue to thrive and we are able to achieve the desired outcomes in terms of making sure that the businesses are actually operating optimally, and also the ease of business is being achieved, and the cost and a number of other sovereign challenges that are occurring, that we as a ministry are able to go back and come back with the answers to that, and also adequately, proactively engage all those key stakeholders as well.
I think the government should do more in consistently engaging stakeholders, because the government actually has a lot of initiatives and a lot of ideas, but I think the execution and the people involved is usually wrong. So the stakeholders, like the business owners, the chambers of commerce, the grassroots people, are the ones that are feeling the real brunt of these things. So it's necessary for the government to constantly engage them to know their problems and how to address the problems.
We want Lagos State to assist SME and the nano and so on in the area that I just mentioned. We want them to assist us to move our goods freely and to also work out a good financial assistance, like giving grants, to boost production.
Elsewhere, the Chartered Institute of Taxation of Nigeria held an in-house training on tax audit on the oil and gas industry for the third batch of Gambia Revenue Authority officials in Lagos. The training was aimed at enhancing their skills in tax administration and management in oil and gas industry. The initiative is part of ongoing effort by Gambia Revenue Authority to strengthen bilateral ties with Nigeria and to equip participants with modern trends and best practices in tax management in oil and gas sector of the economy. And let's take a look at the commodities market now. Crude oil prices earlier today held on to gains made a day earlier amid attacks on shipping in the Red Sea that have exacerbated supply worries. U.S. West Texas Intermediate crude fell to sell at $77.80 per barrel with an upsurge of 0.28%. Brent crude futures also experienced an uptick of 0.3%, selling at $82.70 per barrel. Bonilla recorded a price decline of 1.57%, selling at $84.20 per barrel. And for the OPEC basket, crude oil dealers are offering $82.23 per barrel with a price decline of 0.81%.